Welcome to Transformation Talks, your guide to navigating complex change. Each episode brings you expert insights, practical strategies, and real-world stories on delivering impactful transformation. From managing technology rollouts to driving cultural shifts, we'll help you tackle the challenges of change and build lasting success. I'm Hayley Saich, Head of Marketing for one of the UK's leading management consultancies, and for the next 20 minutes, your podcast host. In today's episode, we welcome seasoned consultant Ian De Snoo, who's going to bring us lots of insight on ERP transformations, specifically S/4HANA. So stay tuned for the hottest tips on getting it right first time. If you're a change leader ready to master the art of transformation, this podcast is for you. Let's dive in. Ian, thank you for joining me on Transformation Talks today.
Thank you very much for having me, Hayley, and good to be in the studio.
Yes,
Yeah.
Well, we feel very lucky actually to have snapped you up whilst you're available, because you have been in the midst of a very complex S4 transformation program, haven't you? Which is the topic of today's podcast.
Yeah, I've been there for the last 5 years. And in fact, I'm not exaggerating, an hour ago, we had a go-live call just before this call started.
Hot off the press.
Hot off the press. We went live about 1 hour ago on a component of the program, the last component of a 5-year program.
Well,
Yes.
Congratulations. I feel like we should pop out the champagne.
We'll do that later.
Okay, yeah, deal. I'll hold you to that. Let's get started with giving some context to our listeners. Let's paint the picture. There's always a lot of noise about SAP, legacy systems coming to an end of life, extending deadlines, etc. So for our listeners, can you talk about what the current situation is?
Yes. First thing to say is this is not new news. So it was almost around about 10 years ago that SAP made the announcement around S/4HANA that the original product, ECC6, is going to be brought to a close and clients will need to move to the new product, S/4HANA. So that was 10 years ago. They made the announcement.
Gosh.
And clients were given a 10-year warning that they need to plan and move. So where we are right now is not new news. It's just that we're now starting to come to the end of some of the deadlines that SAP have set. It is complex. Nothing with SAP is simple. But in very broad terms, some of those deadlines are now starting to approach, and clients do need to make decisions, put plans in place. We'll get on to a bit later. Some of those options mean they may be able to remain on ECC6, but even that, they still need to take actions. They can't do nothing. And I've got one client, for example, right now, they are on a too old in a version, and it's later this year, December this year, their version is going to go out of support. So these deadlines are starting to now come quite close, and do nothing is not an option.
So it's really serious, isn't it? It's big business decisions that need to be made.
Oh, it is. I mean, given what SAP runs, and SAP is sometimes referred to, depending on your metaphor, the nervous system of the business, or the heart and lungs and brain of the business, whatever metaphor you want. Businesses rely on their SAP ECC6 applications. They run all of their core business processes, and keeping them in support, keeping them maintained is essential to being able to let the business run. And if you miss some of the deadlines, you could end up with a system that's out of support, with all of the consequences for that. And you can't allow that situation to arise. So action has to be taken, and the deadlines are starting to become closer.
Gosh, yeah, it's very real. So if you're a CFO or a CIO and thinking, I haven't started this, I have to make a decision, what are the options for them?
So there are a number of options, and to be fair to say, it's always complicated with SAP. If you're on ECC6 today, which is where most clients are, and virtually all clients will be on an on-premise instance of ECC6, you're going to have to take action. Now, in many cases, by looking at it, the answer is to migrate and move to S/4HANA. That doesn't mean that's always the answer for every client, because there are some other options, but many clients is going to be moved to S/4HANA. For some clients, there may be an option. You could stay on ECC6 on-premise. There are a number of vendors out there who now have pretty mature support services and options to support clients that want to remain on ECC6. Depending on your business, those options might be viable or appropriate. It's also relatively recently, SAP has started to announce options where you may be able to move your EC6 onto the SAP hosted cloud called Rise, and that will allow extended support. However, migrating a very old legacy ECC6 from an on-premise into SAP's cloud is a major project in its own right. Details aren't fully understood yet. That's probably going to become clearer as we go forward. So that's another option. So to your question, that's a CFO or a CIO thinking there are a number of options. They need to start thinking about it and decide on the plan of action. And that's where we can come in to help clients. Many of the clients that I've personally worked on, the answer has been S4. So we're going to go, and then it's all of the journey to get to S4. But prior to that, we can certainly help with those initial decisions on where do you want to go. The put your head in the sand and let's do nothing and hope the problem will go away isn't an option. And for some of us, some of your listeners who may be old enough, I think there are some analogies to back in the mid-90s with year 2000, when Y2K was a big driver. You had to do something. You couldn't ignore it. Businesses had to change their systems. That was the trigger to move on to SAP in the first place because of the Y2K challenge. The problem wasn't going to go away. This is a slightly different, but this problem isn't going to go away.
And so it's quite tricky, really, isn't it? Because I guess many organisations and the people responsible and accountable for this, they don't necessarily want to be spending the money or taking the time and doing such a difficult, complex program, but kind of have to.
They have to. I think if this problem wasn't there, many businesses wouldn't wake up in the morning and go, what am I going to do today? This is a decision that's kind of driven by the SAP strategy. It's not their decision, in effect. And I've worked with some of our clients who have very, very big clients, very big organizations. They have some slight influence over SAP, but at the end of the day, any one client can't change the SAP strategy. You're going to have to go with it. The question then comes around business case, because this is going to be quite expensive, and trying to come up with a business case that supports the move. However, you've still got to do it. And my experience is, are you looking for a business case that's got a really hard ROI, improvement of efficiency, and all of those usual components of a business case? Or do you bite the bullet and go, we've got to invest. We're going to move on to the new platform. This is the platform for the next 20 odd years. It's a cost of doing business, and we've just got to get there as an investment and then look to release the benefits post-migration. That may be a mindset thinking here.
Okay. And that brings me on to my next question, really. So over the years and many programs that you've delivered in this space, what lessons have you learned that people can take into consideration, like the business case and the direction it takes?
Yeah, so there's probably a number of parts to that. I mean, certainly the business case, and I would say the ones I've worked on is let's just be really honest with ourselves as to what the business case. You don't want one of these sort of what I call fictitious business cases that have these theoretical benefits and process improvements and theoretical headcount reductions and all the rest of it. That isn't the type of business case you need here. You need what I would call an investment case. Work out the cost of this. A lot of the businesses I've been working with is let's take it as two steps. Step one is get onto S4. If you're assuming your decision is going to go to S4, get off the ECC6 platform, get onto the S4 platform. That in itself is going to be a major program in its own right, multi-year program. Once you're on the platform, then look at part two. Now let's release the benefits of real-time data processing, the data and analytics, these days the AI and Joule and all the other features you've got in terms of absolutely maximizing those. But treat that as part two. Let's just get onto the platform as part one. So business case, definitely one of the factors. My view is many of these projects, the migration to S4, you've got to have the mindset, this is like a re-implementation of your ERP. So all the thinking that go with that. Crucial is choosing the SI. So I would say it's choosing the right SI, contracting them in the right way, and then working in the right way with your SI is critical to the migration to S4, as it is on any ERP program.
And the SI is the systems integrator?
Yeah, systems integrator. They're going to be key to delivering these projects. And there are many SIs out there. They all have their different ways of doing it, different flavors. Any one client, you've got to work out the right SI for your project that's going to work with you. But getting that dynamic right, the business, the project, and the SI, all working together. We have a mantra of kind of inverted commas one team. These are complex programs. They are challenging. You do have to go at it as one team. And part of that is just getting that relationship with your SI absolutely right, as you would of any ERP program.
And also having the A team, I suppose, of people who've been there and done it before is going to be helpful.
That would be helpful. I mean, it's an interesting question. The market changes every month. So is the market hot or cool, or what? It depends who you speak to. There was a period of time where the A teams were all booked up. You know, you couldn't get an A team because they were engaged. So by definition, you get a bit of an A team and some of the B team. The market's changing every day. There are different SIs in the market. People are busy. I think with some of the changing dead timelines and other options coming from SAP, that might take away a little bit of the pressure on the market, which might mean there's a bit more capacity. But again, I'm not a market analyst to know that. You'd have to go and speak to the SIs direct for that. Everyone would want the A team. You've got to be honest, though. No one has the A team sitting on the bench.
No.
And different clients have different challenges. So where I've been working for the last 5 years, actually been in the defence sector, we have a whole set of different security constraints and criteria which really constrain the use of offshore resources because it's the defence sector. That constrains the team you've got. Different industry sectors maybe don't have those security requirements, so you've got the benefit of being able to tap into all the offshore capability. So the concept of who is the A team, is it just in the UK, is it in Europe, is it worldwide, depends on your client, depends on what the rules and regulations are. Obviously, some clients that we're talking to, the scale of their program is so huge, you've got to go, is every single team member going to be A team? You've just got to be realistic. As ever was saying at the start, is the sooner you start, the better place you're going to be.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked about the business case, the systems integrator. There's also an element of the team, the organization, the people, and bringing people on the journey of this big change as well.
Yeah.
So change management and thinking about the people and being able to adopt that within the business is also a key.
It is. If we make the assumption people are going to move to S4, which is what most people will decide is their direction. Once you've made that decision, it's then what type of S4 are you going to move to? Now, there's, broadly speaking, there's brownfield and greenfield and various colours in between. The brownfield end of the spectrum, you're saying, okay, I want to retain the functionality I've got today. I want to retain the customization I've got today. As far as possible, I want to minimise the change in my business. That would be called a brownfield implementation. So there's benefits to that, but it means you're going to try and port all of your code and customization into the S4 world. Can be done, may be correct. The other end of the spectrum is what's called greenfield, where you go, right, we're going clean, vanilla, minimum customization. Sometimes some people call it clean core. I'm going to go greenfield. Now with that, by definition, because most people's legacy ECC6 will have a lot of customization in it, there's going to be a much bigger change there because people are going to have to get used to it. So either of those is going to have business change. You need to work out the scale of business change, recognize that, and it's absolutely core to the success of these programs is having the business on board, A, for the change, but also crucially data. So business data and migrating the data and understanding that business data. At the end of the day, only the business owns that and understands that. Owning that data challenge, you've got to have the business as part of the project. The project team can't do that independently. So again, that engagement with the business and the end users is critical to the successful delivery.
A lot that goes into it, isn't it? Awful lot goes into it. So many people, many organizations maybe haven't started this yet. So after they make the decision, what comes next?
So I think the first thing is the decision as to which route they would go down. And let's assume, because the vast majority, and certainly the clients we were talking to, will go, well, the answer is going to be S4. You then need to work out, okay, what's the strategy for your migration to S4? How are you going to do it? Now, there's a number of key decisions you make to start. We touched on choosing your SI, well, that's core. A few years ago, one of the decisions would be on-prem versus cloud. Right now, today, the answer is cloud. It's going to be unusual that a client's going to make the strategy today in 2025. I'm about to embark, because this program will last 2 or 3 years. I'm going to go for an on-prem solution. The SAP strategy, their solutions, their support, it is all driven to the cloud. So it's really cloud first. You're going to assume you're going to go for a cloud implementation because your ECC6 are probably on-prem. Okay, with that being your cloud for your ERP, what does that mean for how you design your solution? Because the reality of these programs is SAP doesn't exist in isolation. It is integrated to all of your other business applications. One of the programs, the 5-year one we just finished, we've got north of 80 interfaces, complex integrations. So SAP doesn't sit on its own. And if you move to the cloud, great, you then have to integrate to everything else that you used to integrate. So that's a big part of your program strategy, is just working that out. So that's key to get that right at the start. Business case we've touched on, because you're going to have to fund it. The other real key thing to understand is these are big programs. They're going to last multi-years. As you go through this change, what are the other changes that are happening in your business? Because you're going to be trying to do this change at the same time as other changes in the business. And you'll find if you don't plan for it, you're going to have conflicts, because you're ripping the sort of heart, lung, brain, spinal cord, whatever you want to choose. You're ripping that out and putting in a new one at the same time as you've got a live business running that's got other change initiatives and needing to respond and transform in other areas. Coordination of your S4 migration with everything else is key at the start, so that you go into this knowing how you're going to deliver S4 with everything else.
We were talking recently around an analogy with the ship, steering the ship in this, which I thought would resonate a lot with our
yes, I think the one I was thinking of, and it was only because I'd seen a video, and it's out there on YouTube somewhere, and it's an absolute storm, and a massive ferry is mooring up in the storm, and the way it does it, it's like drops its anchor, and it comes in this whirling storm and manages to dock onto the quayside. And the key thing is, the reason they've done that is because the chap on the helm of the ferry has done it before.
Yeah.
And I think the analogy here is the move to S4, assuming it's going to be S4, is complex. Most clients have not moved to S4 because most clients will not have done it. They need someone on the bridge at the helm who's done that before. So with Project One, we have done that. We've got a number of clients, an increasing number of clients, where we have helped them deliver, get it live from inception through to live. So we've been there, we've done it. We are the experienced chap on the helm, on the bridge, that can bring this ferry in during the storm. Now, when I saw the video of this, and it's like, yeah, these are complex programs. There's no two doubt. They're complex. They'll cost a lot of money. If there's problems and challenges, the money keeps being burned. So having someone got the experience doesn't mean it's going to be a walk in the park.
No.
But having that experience, having got the scars, we can help a client who's maybe not been through one of these before.
So what will absolutely seem like a very daunting program to embark upon, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is support and help and experience that can help guide people through
Yes,
this.
and you can, all of the clients, all the programs that we've been involved in, we have delivered. Now, there's been bumps on the road. There've been challenges and difficulties on the way because they are complex programs. But I think in all cases, we've got them there, we're live, or we're getting them there, we're on track to getting them there. There will be difficulties on the way. These are not easy, but it's the combination of the experience and it's that one team. If you end up with parts of the business or the project or the SI sort of not working with each other, a difficult problem becomes 10 times more difficult. So it's that, how do we bring everyone together? You've not done this before. And also the fact that many clients and people in the business have not even been through an ERP project before. The ERP, the ECC6 they're using, that might have been implemented 10 or 15 years ago. So when they were first recruited, that was the working business system. They've been using it as an end user for 10 or 15 years. They've never been through the project of what it takes to actually put it in. So this is new to the business, and even quite senior line leaders and function leads in the business have not been through this before. So it's a recognition of that, and that's where we step in to help. You will have multiple suppliers. It's not just one SI. But I can't underestimate is working with the right SI and working with them in the right way. That takes a lot of experience. And I think that getting that right really helps solve the problems as well.
How do organisations decide on the right approach for them?
So if there's clients listening to today's podcast that haven't yet started, and you'll know if you've got ECC6, and you will know if you haven't yet started, get in touch. We can help you right from day one on that. And the program that I'm just coming to a close on, 5 years ago, I'm not, no exaggeration, I sat down one-on-one with a client sponsor with a blank piece of paper, and we wrote S4 on the top of the piece of paper. And that was literally the start of a 5-year program. So we can help at the start. If you've made a start and are struggling, maybe not getting the decisions to be made, not quite clear on the route to go, we can help with that. If you've decided on the route, i.e. it's going to be S4, but how do we now move to S4? Great, we can help you with that point. And heaven forbid, if you're in the middle of moving to S4 and things aren't going as well as you think, maybe people have underestimated the challenges, maybe things haven't been quite set up right at the start, we can help at any point in a program's life cycle. We've been there. We can come in and work with you to help improve that and recover that.
That's brilliant. And I think that will be music to some people's ears, that there is a safe pair of hands out there that can support people on this journey. Yeah,
and we are. I mean, I think it's one of our ways that we will work with the client. It doesn't mean we've got all the answers. You know, we're not as arrogant enough to say that. However, we've probably seen enough of the challenges and come across enough of the problems that we've got a pretty good approach to how we could challenge this. But our approach is always going to be sitting on the client side of the desk. How can we genuinely help the client get to there? We're not salespeople for the products. We're not salespeople for the SIs. There's plenty of other people who are out there who will do that. Our role is to sit alongside the client and help the client make the right decision and then deliver on that decision.
And can I ask you one final question, which I ask all of our guests on Transformation Talks? So if you were to give yourself some advice, if you were to go back to when you started your career, and if you could know then what you know now, what advice would you give to yourself?
That's an interesting question. I think once you've got a degree of experience, you know when things are going right and when they're not. And it's having the confidence to call out early on when things are not going right. I'm going to face into this. It's going to be a difficult conversation. In hindsight, it's always better to have that as early as you can. Most people, once they've been around the block a few times, get a sense when something's not quite right. And it's kind of, you know when you know. And don't put off difficult conversations, which could be the program isn't set up right, or we've got the contract right, or we haven't got the right people. It's really difficult conversations. But if you don't nail those early, they're not going to fix themselves later. And it's having the boldness, confidence to act quickly when you know something's not right.
That's great advice. Thank you.
Thank you, Hayley.
Thank you for joining us today. It's been great to chat, and I think some brilliant advice there for our listeners. And I look forward to hearing about the next S4 transformation that you're about to embark on.
Great. Thanks very much, Hayley.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Transformation Talks. We hope you found today's insights valuable in your journey to leading successful transformation. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to subscribe and share it with your network. Stay connected with us for more expert insight and stories on delivering complex change and transformation in any organisation. And we look forward to seeing you next time.